Church. It's Pastor Steve here with our Monday Minute, a Valentine's Day edition of Monday Minute for February 14th of 2022. Hopefully, those of you who were interested had an enjoyable time watching the Super Bowl yesterday. Whether you were interested in the game, interested in the Rams because of Matthew Stafford connection here with the Lions, or were just watching for the commercials. Hopefully, all of your celebrations were safe and were done in a spirit of joy. If you weren't interested in the game, hopefully you had a great Sunday and we're getting ready to move into this week. And again, we want to wish a happy Valentine's Day to everybody who is out there as well. The other thing we want to remind you of is that the season of Lent is going to be coming up in just a couple of weeks with Ash Wednesday is going to be on March the 2nd, and we hope that you will join us for that. But if you've not had the opportunity, you can go to our website, or it was also sent out an email, or you can contact the church and pre-order our Lenten devotional book that we'll be using throughout this season as well. It's a daily devotional book starting with Ash Wednesday, and has a lot to offer by a great author by the name of Walter Brueggemann. And as we look at following a path that is not our own, we hope that this season of Lent that is coming up will be transformational for us. So we encourage you to get that book and to use it throughout your Lenten journey. We'll be using that as a part of our preaching series for the season of Lent. And there are going to be several other ways to get involved around this theme during the course of the week, and we want you to look for those as we release those as well over these next couple of weeks. All of our information, as well as other activities, can be found at our website, newburghumc.org, and you can go specifically to newburghumc.org/events. Now, today, while we've had a lot going on here, and today, of course, is Valentine's Day, and we know that holiday has come about for many years, but it is also the month of February being Black History Month, and I wanted to take a moment to touch on an aspect of our United Methodist faith, I should say, that is a legacy for us still today. And that is the person who was known as the first Black bishop in Methodism. And in this case, it was the former Methodist Episcopal Church. You may not know who he is. I didn't know who he is until a couple weeks ago as well. But his name was Francis Burns, and he was the first Black bishop in the Methodist Episcopal Church, which is, of course, one of our predecessor denominations to the United Methodist Church. He actually started off growing up in New York. They don't know exactly the time of his birth, but as a young man, his family was poor, and so he actually was an indentured servant, which was a type of slavery, for lack of a better term, but under a contract, so better than the slavery that existed in the South. But indentures did happen even in the North, and Francis was bound to a term of service to a couple of different families, but when he was 8 years old, he went under the indenture of the Atwood family. And Mrs. Atwood was a class leader at her local Methodist Episcopal Church. And she allowed him to attend classes with her own children, which, of course, was very progressive for the times as well. So Francis joined the Methodist Episcopal Church at age 15, and at 17, he showed an interest in preaching. However, he was still bound under his term of indenture, and he could not pursue his calling. Finally, when his indenture expired, when he reached the age of 21, he began working as a teacher and became licensed as a Methodist preacher. And he did that in New York, in this upstate New York, for a couple of years. His family encouraged him, and he studied and became a missionary. And in 1834, that's right, 1834, not 1934, 1834, he accompanied the Reverend John Sayes to Liberia. And that's important because we have a connection still with Liberia today. He served as a missionary for 10 years, and he led and taught in Liberia. And he was ultimately ordained as a pastor and was educated at the Monrovia Seminary and taught there as well, starting in 1845. After that, 10 years later in 1856, I should say 12 years later in 1856, it was decided that a missionary bishop should be appointed to Liberia by the General Conference of the Methodist Episcopal Church. And Francis Burns then was appointed as a missionary bishop, and he was elected by the Liberia Conference as its first bishop in 1858. Now, the importance of this election, as I said, is monumental, not only for the time frame, as America was still struggling with slavery and the Civil War, but also with our missionary endeavors into the country of Liberia. And for the fact that Reverend Burns was elected to become Bishop Burns has left a lasting legacy for both the Methodists today and for the countries of Liberia and here in the United States, but specifically here in Michigan. Michigan, as some of you might know, the Michigan Conference is a covenant partner with the Liberia Annual Conference. And we have been blessed over the years to have several guest speakers and preachers, including the Reverend Elias Mambiro, who has worshiped in our congregation as well. And his two grandsons are members of our congregation here at Newburgh. The legacy of Bishop Burns lives on and is carried on through our covenant partnership there as well. And it shows us that for as much as we have had to overcome dealing with race relations in this country, dealing with the Civil War, there is so much that we have to be thankful for. We're thankful for the pioneering efforts of Bishop Burns and what he was able to do both in this country at a time when African Americans were not permitted to do a whole lot, but also what he was able to do to carry that message to Liberia and to establish the Methodist presence, strong Methodist presence that is still there today, and that we now are in covenant partnership as well. It's important to know these things and important to know this legacy as we go through Black History Month, and to see the contributions that African Americans have made not only to our denomination, but to all the church and to all the world. So hopefully now you'll remember the name of Bishop Francis Burns, our first African American bishop in all of Methodism that we're aware of, and the legacy that he carries with us that connects us even directly to Newburgh Church. Continue to think about those things and continue to explore our history together as we celebrate Black History Month and as we celebrate all the blessings that God has given us. Everybody, have a great week. Please stay safe out there, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here next week for another edition of the Monday Minute. God bless.